The wind moved across the prairie like a living thing, bending the tall grass in slow waves that shimmered gold beneath the late, wild west sun, and Elias Crow felt its loneliness the way a man feels hunger in his bones. His farm sat far from any town, a scatter of wooden buildings stitched together by hard work and stubborn hope. And for years it had been just him, the land, and the quiet. Elias was not old, but solitude had carved lines into his face, and every night he returned to a house that echoed with memories he never quite had the chance to make. On the evening that changed everything, his fields lay still after harvest, the sky bruised purple and red, when he noticed something moving at the edge of the cottonwoods. At first he thought it was a trick of the fading light, but then a figure stepped forward, tall, impossibly tall for a woman, moving with the calm authority of someone who belonged to the land long before fences ever did. She was Apache, her presence commanding without effort, her shadow stretching across the soil like a declaration. Elias's hand went instinctively to the fence rail, his heart hammering not with fear but with a strange sense of inevitability. She introduced herself as Nantai, her voice deep, steady, carrying the echo of mountains and rivers. She had been tracking wounded game when she collapsed near his land, she said, and now she stood before him not as a beggar, but as someone who expected respect. He noticed her height, her strength, the way the wind seemed to listen to her, and he realized how small his world had become. When he offered water, she accepted without hesitation, stepping into his yard as if it had always been hers too. Inside the farmhouse, the air smelled of wood smoke and simple meals, and Nantai looked around with sharp eyes, taking in every detail. She spoke of her people, of the way the plains had been before plows, and Elias listened, feeling the walls of his loneliness crack. Night came quickly, and when the cold crept in, she said words that startled him, not with threat, but with certainty. "You will sleep on my bed," she said, meaning not possession but protection, a statement of shared shelter against the dark. In her culture, she explained, sharing space was trust, and trust was survival. Elias agreed, not fully understanding, but knowing that something larger than fear had entered his life. As they settled into the night, the wind howled outside, but inside the small house there was warmth. Two lives briefly intersecting in the vast emptiness of the frontier. The chapter of Elias's solitude closed quietly, replaced by a story just beginning, and as the fire burned low, he realized that the land had finally answered his loneliness not with silence, but with a voice. If this moment speaks to you, if the open plains and unexpected bonds stir something in your heart, remember to subscribe to the channel for more powerful Wild West stories that bring forgotten lives back to life. Morning arrived on the farm with pale light spilling across the floorboards, and Elias awoke with the rare feeling that he was not alone in the world, a realization that carried both comfort and responsibility. Nantai was already outside, greeting the day as if it were an old friend, her tall figure framed against the rising sun, and Elias watched her with quiet respect. Over the days that followed, she stayed not as a guest, but as someone testing the edges of a shared future. She helped mend fences with strength that amazed him, spoke to his land as if it listened, and told stories of her people that carried wisdom carved by generations. In return, Elias shared his struggles, the droughts, the debt, the nights when the silence pressed too hard, and Nantai listened without judgment. Word of her presence spread, as words always do in the frontier, and not all who heard it were kind. A group of men came one afternoon, their intentions wrapped in suspicion and fear, and Elias felt the old weakness of being alone rise in his chest. But Nantai stood between them and the house unyielding, her voice calm but powerful as she reminded them that the land did not belong to fear. The confrontation passed without violence, yet it marked a turning point. Elias realized then that strength was not just muscle or courage, it was standing for what you choose to protect. That night, as the fire flickered, Nantai spoke of moving on, of paths that still called her name, and Elias felt the ache of loss before it even happened. He offered her a place, not out of need but out of respect, and she considered it with eyes that held both freedom and care. When she spoke again, she reminded him of her words that first night, explaining that sharing a bed meant sharing a burden, and that sometimes the strongest thing a person can do is accept companionship without trying to own it. In the days that followed, the farm changed, not just in labor but in spirit. Neighbors who once passed by now stopped, curiosity softening into understanding, and Elias felt his world widen. Eventually, Nantai chose to leave, her journey not ending but continuing, and they parted not with promises but with gratitude. Elias stood alone again in the field, yet the loneliness no longer ruled him. He carried her lessons in every step, knowing that connection, even temporary, could reshape a life. As the sun set once more over the plains, Elias returned to his house stronger, kinder, and open to whatever story came next. If this journey of courage, respect, and unexpected connection moved you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay with us for more unforgettable Wild West stories that honor the spirit of the frontier.